We frequently hear the phrase "the chosen ones" often as if it's about those with a unique destiny or mystical purpose, as it says in Matthew 22:14. For many are called, but few are chosen. What does this verse really mean? What if being chosen is not something bestowed at birth? What if it is forged through unseen trials that many overlook? This isn't the stuff of legends, it's a spiritual calling. The Bible tells of people like Moses, David, and Paul, who weren't chosen because they were exceptional from the start, but because they were willing to endure trials that few could withstand. They didn't stumble into greatness. They were refined by hardships that tested their faith. Perseverance and resilience, these trials aren't visible. They challenged the spirit, mind, and soul. They demand endurance, calling for those few who can face and overcome them. Those who emerge from these trials are changed. They are those who have surrendered their own plans to stand firmly in faith and step into their divine purpose. So today, consider these tests as indicators or signs that you may be among God's chosen. But before we begin, please give this video a thumbs up so we can keep sharing these messages and subscribe to the channel. If you are new, test number 1, the test of identity. The path of the chosen begins with an unsettling question. Who am I really in a world where identity often hinges on roles, titles, and perceptions? This question demands us to look beyond the surface. Many define themselves by careers, relationships, possessions, or past experiences, masking their true selves behind labels and achievements. But the first test in the life of the chosen is to strip all that away and confront the core of who we are, like Moses, who left behind the luxury of Egypt only to face himself in the solitude of the wilderness. We are called to see beyond roles and titles. Who are we when no one's looking, when our identity isn't tied to accomplishments or social standing? This test holds up a mirror to reveal our truest self. It challenges us to let go of the ego and examine the things we've built our self-worth on. Many avoid this test, preferring the comfort of their carefully constructed illusions, unwilling to step into the unknown of self-reflection. They retreat to what feels safe, to the roles and titles that define them. But for those who are chosen, the question lingers, pressing on their hearts until they face it. Psalm 13:39-23. 24 calls us to this type of introspection. Search me, O God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. This passage invites the chosen to welcome God's light into their innermost thoughts, to confront the areas they've avoided, and to see themselves as God sees them. Those who answer this call embrace a deeper understanding. They allow God to strip away their masks, unveiling a person molded for purpose, someone God can work with beyond their achievements or possessions. The chosen understand that they are not defined by the world's standards, but by what God has placed within them. This test of identity isn't easy. It's a refining fire. It asks, will you let go of your self-made image and let God define you? Those who walk through this fire come out with a strength and clarity that only God can impart. When we surrender to this refining process, we lay down every false label and stand as we truly are, vessels ready for divine purpose. Test number 2, the test of isolation. The second test for the chosen is one of isolation. In a world filled with constant noise, endless responsibilities, and the lure of social media, stepping back to face solitude is no easy task. But there comes a point when those who are called must separate from the clamor and confront who they truly are. In the quiet before Jesus began his ministry, he spent 40 days in the wilderness alone, away from all that was familiar. This time alone wasn't a punishment. It was a preparation. Isolation has a way of stripping away all distractions, allowing us to finally hear the truth within us and the direction we're meant to follow. In solitude, we encounter our deepest fears, insecurities, and unresolved emotions. This is where we are truly tested, facing aspects of ourselves that we may have long ignored. The silence forces us to confront things we'd rather avoid. It's here that God often meets us in a way we've never experienced before, as he did with Elijah on Mount Horeb. Elijah was alone, weary, and afraid, yet he encountered God in a gentle whisper. Kings 19:12. It's in these quiet moments that God's voice becomes unmistakable, guiding us, comforting us, and refining us. Many shy away from isolation, fearful of what they might uncover within themselves. They prefer the comfort of constant activity and the reassurance of others' opinions. But those who are chosen know that there is strength in facing the silence. They understand that true growth requires moments away from the world's expectations and the demands of daily life. In these moments, they tune their hearts to God's voice, learning to listen to his guidance even when it challenges them. Isolation isn't easy. It can feel uncomfortable, even pain-fuel, but for the chosen, it's a necessary part of their path. They find that in the quiet, God speaks truth they couldn't hear before they learned to depend on him fully, discovering the depth of their faith in ways that could only be shaped in solitude. The chosen come to see that purpose often requires seasons of separation, times when they must step away to draw nearer to God and hear the calling he has placed within them. Test number 3, the test of letting go. The third test, a deeply challenging one, is the test of letting go in life. We hold tightly to so much: our expectations, our grudges, our dreams, and even our closest relationships. But those who are called must learn to release these attachments, trusting that God's way is higher than our own. Abraham faced this when God asked him to sacrifice Isaac, his beloved son. This was a test not of cruelty, but of trust, showing that sometimes what God asks of us doesn't align with our plans yet. It calls for a faith that says, "Lord, I trust you," even when it doesn't make sense. Letting go is not about abandoning what we love or desire. It's about releasing the tight grip we have on our own plans and yielding to God's greater purpose. This isn't a one-time act, it's a continual surrender. Just when we think we've released our attachments, life presents us with another challenge, another moment where we're asked, "Can you let go of this too?" It's a reminder that true faith isn't shown in what we hold, but in what we're willing to release for God's sake. Jesus taught this principle when he said, "Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me." Matthew 16:24. Letting go is not a sign of weakness, but of strength. It's the act of surrendering control over our lives, giving our desires and future into God's hands, knowing that his will is good even if it doesn't resemble our own vision. The chosen know that this test isn't easy. It often means laying down dreams that have taken years to build, or releasing people we've held dear. Yet in doing so, they find a freedom that can't be gained by clinging to what was never meant to be theirs. They learn that God's plan is filled with things far beyond what they could imagine, but only if they trust him with open hands. This test is one of sacrifice, but it also builds a faith that stands strong. In each act of letting go, they learn to see God's faithfulness more clearly, discovering that he fills every space they make for him. The chosen are those who walk forward, leaving behind their own will, strengthened by the peace of knowing that God's purpose will always be greater than any plan they could make for themselves. Test number 4, the dark night of the music soul. The fourth test, often called the dark night of the soul, is one that has pushed even the strongest believers to their limits. It's a season marked by deep inner struggle and overwhelming hardship, where everything seems to crumble, relationships fail, careers end, and life itself feels as if it's shrouded in darkness. But this isn't a punishment from God, rather. It's a refining fire, a cleansing that strips away everything that doesn't belong to our true self. A lace Job faced this test when he lost his family, his wealth, and even his health, wrestling with hard questions about God's justice and love in this dark season. God isn't withdrawing his love. Instead, he's removing the superficial layers we've built around ourselves, allowing what's real and unshakable to emerge. The chosen understand that this darkness won't last forever, and even when they can't sense God's presence, they cling to the truth that he is still there working within the silence, as Psalm 23:4 declares. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. It's a reminder that his hand is steady, guiding them through this test, strips away false comforts and empty securities, leaving only what's real. The chosen must stand firm in faith even when they have more questions than answers. They endure a silence that feels heavy where God's voice seems distant, yet they remain, because they know that there is a purpose to this season. It's in these moments that they come to see the strength God has placed within them, a light that shines even in the midst of their deepest struggles for those who endure. The dark night becomes a passageway to a clearer vision of God and a purer sense of purpose. They emerge not just with answers, but with a heart that trusts beyond what is seen or felt. This is where the chosen are shaped not by comfort, but by faith that holds steady in the midst of trials. They understand that this process is making room for God's light to fill them in a way they couldn't have imagined. Before the chosen come out of this test, knowing that the darkness served a purpose, that in the quiet God was refining their spirits, making them vessels ready for his call. Test number 5, the test of faith in the dark night of the soul. We're called to live by faith, not by sight. This 5th test asks us to place unwavering trust not only in God, but also in the purpose set before us, a purpose we may not yet fully understand. It's a faith that stands firm in God's goodness even when life seems overshadowed by struggles. Hebrews 11:1 describes faith as the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. In this challenging season, we are asked to lean on what we cannot see, to trust that our pain is not without meaning. Faith during hardship is the essence of the chosen. It's easy to believe when things are clear, but true faith is tested in the unknown, like Peter, who dared to step out of the boat and walk on water. We're called to take steps forward without any visible assurance that we won't sink. Peter knew the risk, but he also knew the one calling him was greater than the waves. This test is not about certainty, but about trust. Trust in the one who guides our steps, even when we can't see the whole path. The chosen understand that faith is not rooted in comfort or clarity, but in a steadfast hope that God is at work even when his plan is hidden from view. This season of darkness doesn't make sense to the world, but to the chosen. It's an opportunity to strengthen their bond with God. It's a time to release control, acknowledging that even though they don't have the answers, they know the one who does. They choose to believe that God's timing and ways are far beyond human reasoning. And they keep moving forward in this test. The heart of the chosen is refined, finding strength in a hope that doesn't rely on circumstances. They hold on, not because they have all the answers, but because they trust the promises of the one who is guiding them. Their faith grows deeper, becoming a light that shines even when darkness surrounds them. This is where they discover a peace that doesn't depend on what they can see, and a strength that rises from complete surrender. In the midst of this test, the chosen press on, not because they understand every step, but because they believe in the one who holds their path. They walk forward anchored by a hope that stands firm against uncertainty, knowing that God's faithfulness is their foundation even when the way is unclear. Test number 6, the test of surrender. The 6th test is the test of surrender. Reaching this point means we've shown resilience, strength, and endurance. But now we're called to surrender our own plans entirely and let God take control. Jesus showed us this path in the Garden of Gethsemane, praying, "Not my will, but yours be done." Luke 22:42. Surrender isn't about giving up, it's about aligning our desires with God's purpose. This test teaches humility and obedience, calling us to release our need to control outcomes and trust in God's timing and wisdom. True strength for the chosen lies not in their ability to force situations, but in their willingness to yield to God's higher plan. Surrender becomes a powerful act of faith, recognizing that God knows what's best. Even when we can't see the way forward. In this surrender, we find peace. It's a quiet assurance that no matter what happens, we are secure in God's hands. The chosen understand that surrender is not a loss, but a way to allow God to lead, finding rest in His perfect wisdom. Test number 7, the test of awakening. The final test for the chosen is the test of awakening. This is the moment of clarity, the point when we truly understand our purpose and recognize who we are in God's eyes. It's the culmination of every trial, every struggle that came before, bringing a sense of vision that changes everything. The chosen awaken to their identity in Christ, realizing they are not only loved, but set apart for a divine mission when they see their lives not as random occurrences, but as a path carefully guided, leading them closer to God and to a fuller understanding of themselves. In this awakening, we recognize that every challenge, every moment of pain served a greater purpose. These trials were steps leading us to freedom, joy, and purpose. Beyond ourselves, we reach a point where fear and ego no longer have a hold on us. This awakening allows the chosen to live with courage and love, fully open into God's plan, no longer restrained by doubt or insecurity. This clarity brings a peace that can't be shaken, a strength that comes from knowing who we are and whose we are. We see the past struggles as tools God used to shape us, and we're now prepared to walk confidently in the purpose He has laid out for us. So, are you one of the chosen ones? Are you willing to face these tests of identity, isolation, letting go, darkness, faith, surrender, and awakening? The journey is not easy, and these tests are not for the faint of heart. But if you endure, you will emerge transformed. You will awaken to a life that is abundant, free, and aligned with God's purpose. This is the path of the chosen ones. It's not about being perfect or special. It's about being willing to grow, to trust, and to surrender. Let us walk this path together, for the reward that awaits us is beyond anything we could imagine. Amen.